Septic systems. This house is on well and septic. We know where the well is because we can see the wellhead poking out of the front yard. Trying to determine exactly where the septic system is back here amongst all these wonderful mosquitoes is going to be a little bit interesting. We have got one large flat section of the house where we suspect our septic system probably is. We know it's not in the front yard because that's too close to the well, and the minimum standard for separation between well and septic has always been at least 50 feet. These days it's actually 75. So we're not going to look in the front yard for the septic system. So we're pretty sure it is going to be back here in this large flat section of yard out away from where they built up the house. So we will try and get a better feel for where all of that is by where the piping leaves the basement or the crawl space. We're going to do a dye push test on this, and then we're going to walk probably this whole back of the yard to see if anything is popping up or breaking out. But I am not seeing any wet areas back here. We're not smelling anything, and those are the two signs that you've got a problem with the septic, the two big signs you've got a problem with the septic system. So I don't expect us to have any problems with the septic field back here, at least as far as the dye push test is concerned. The mosquitoes, on the other hand, are getting on my nerves. Off of this corner and then runs this way, but the whole back lower part of the yard is greener because that's where the drainage goes. I don't know that we're going to have much success finding a lid here. It is definitely greener, and I wonder if we walk this way. Oh, lo and behold, look what we found. That would be the lid to the septic system. That one's actually labeled septic tank, and it's actually easily accessible, but that does not mean we're going to open it up. So opening up a septic tank is well outside the scope of the visual home inspection. But it does tell us that it's pretty much right where we expected it to be. It's all a gravity-fed system given the age of this house, so it's going to go from this tank down into the leach field that is probably going to be, again, in this long flat area over here. You have no idea what the size of that septic tank is, because even if we were to open up that hatch, you have no way just looking in the hatch to know how big that septic tank is. Minimum size used to be 500 gallons. For a house this size, which I think is roughly 3,000 square feet, I would expect in 1996 they probably put in at least a 1,000-gallon tank. The only way you will know for sure is if these folks who are selling the house are the ones that built it and still have records of the build and what was put in here. Or this house is new enough, you can probably actually go down to the county courthouse and get the permits and records there that will tell you what size septic tank was installed. How often you should have a septic tank pump depends on a whole bunch of factors. How many people live in the house? How much water do they use? Stuff like that. The honest answer is I would have it pumped no less than probably every 2 years, because that also gives you the opportunity to inspect that tank and find out what kind of shape it's in. This is probably a concrete vault tank because those are far and away the most common septic tanks we see around here. You've got a tree right there. You've got trees here. So there's always the chance that roots are going to find that tank and try to get into it. So I would at least want to know every couple years what's going on with that tank. So regardless of whether it absolutely needs to have all the solids pumped out of it, I'd be opening that thing up and having it pumped every couple of years. You're talking maybe $300 to $400 to have that pumped, and that's cheap insurance when it comes to a septic system. Average cost to replace a septic system now starts, if you've got to replace the whole shoot and match, roughly $15,000 and goes up from there. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that in a lot of municipalities now, if you have city sewer anywhere close by, they're going to make you connect to that instead of putting in or revising your septic system. Or B, if you can put in a new septic system, they are not going to let you do a below ground septic system. So what we've got here is a more traditional septic system where we've got a tank. The effluent from that flows out to a finger system, which is all buried under the yard here. Most modern septic systems are now put in what's called a mound system. So the fingers in that case would be laying on top of what is now the lawn or the ground, and then you would put an earthen mound over the top of it because that is now considered a safer and more sanitary way to install a septic system. I'd be shouting if I did it that way. As always, thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. You'll find the information at the bottom of this video.